What do they call that when people that's all they do is the sounds?
ASMR.
ASMR.
Yeah.
Can we do Explore Orlando ASMR?
What is that? Just like a roller coaster?
Yeah, it's like a roller coaster track.
Just people screaming. You know what's funny? You meet theme park fans, though. I've actually genuinely met theme park fans who've been like, oh, yeah, the sounds, though, of screaming and the roller coasters,
Really?
they're actually kind of relaxing to me.
Wow.
Like, I've actually met someone who said that to me, and I was like, that's kind of insane.
Yeah. The only way I can get close to that is you actually made a video recently on our Explore Orlando TikTok, and it is the sound of walking into islands, like the actual soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
There's something, I don't know. It produces pure nostalgia from the moment you walk over to Islands of Adventure in the front. It's so distinct.
Well, theme park music is very nostalgic. I think there's a reason why Epcot fans, for example, they hold on to old Epcot with the old music and, innovations and the ground that used to light up with stars on the ground. That was the Epcot I grew up with, and I still remember that soundtrack, and it just, whenever I hear that music now, I think about, being a kid again. So a lot of theme park sounds and music actually does trigger nostalgia.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. All right, well, let's kick it off.
Yeah, anyways, this is another episode. Welcome in to another episode of the Explore Orlando podcast. This is episode 4. I know last episode, I'm pretty sure I said it was episode 4. I was lying. It was actually episode 3. Okay. So I can't count.
Yeah.
But I can now. So good news. Just recently learned how to count. But no, on today's episode, we will be talking about Animal Kingdom. DinoLand has started its phasing out of, that entire land, that entire area. And to make way for the Tropical Americas land that is coming in 2027. We're going to talk a little bit about how that's all going to be working from actually closing down the whole area, and also why fans should get excited for Tropical Americas, this new land coming a few years from now.
Yeah.
We are years in advance from this actually opening. And frankly, it could be longer than that.
Do they have an estimated, is there an ETA yet on it being complete, or is it just kind of?
They are saying 2027 is when Tropical Americas will be opening in Animal Kingdom.
Okay.
However, do I believe that? No. Because here's a little, pretty well-known fact within the theme park world. Universal builds things at an extremely fast rate. Disney does not.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know. I'm not saying it as it's bad, because everything when it does get built, everything Disney releases is usually pretty dang cool.
Yeah.
But they take their time a little bit more when it comes to construction. They got a lot of projects in development right now all at the same time. So with that being said, it's very possible Tropical Americas doesn't actually open until 2028, or who knows? There's no way of fully knowing, but I do know that the next year or two is going to be pretty vital to figuring out where that goes. I mean, a lot of people point to Tron as a project that should have opened years before it actually did. However, I do think people need to recognize that there was, a giant pandemic that, sidelined construction for that. But nevertheless, we'll see. But yeah, D23 is when they first essentially said Tropical Americas is coming in 2027.
Yeah. And I did see, excuse me, I think it was yesterday. I don't have our exact date, so when this podcast goes out, but recently, within the last week, once this podcast released, I did see that some of the attractions officially shut down. Some of the fans were there, some media was there, really recording that last moment of those rides being in operation, which I never really went to that section of the park very often, but I could imagine how sentimental that could be for a lot of people.
Yeah. So, based off of when we're releasing this episode, like you said, who knows exactly, the exact date. But I do know that on January 13th, like you were alluding to, Dinorama closed, which is a certain section of DinoLand. And with that closing came, the Triceratops spin, the the little dinosaur spin ride.
Yeah, I think that's what I saw actually.
Yeah, the Fossil Fun, like the games in that area, the carnival sort of area, Chester and Hester's, the little shop back there. So it's probably the least traveled to section of that land and maybe even the park. But it is a section of the land that they have officially started. It's closed. It's gone.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of fans who went over there and rode, Triceratops spins one last time, went to Chester and Hester's one last time, went and enjoyed that section of the park. It's always sad to see certain theme park lands and rides go because of that nostalgia factor you were just talking about.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I do think it's important for people to remember that oftentimes when we lose something from a theme park land, we are going to get something, and a lot of the time it is better, especially in this day and age, objectively better. It's easy to put on your nostalgia glasses and say, no, it's not. This was better.
Right.
But objectively, you usually get something pretty cool.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I'm excited to see what exactly they put back there. Sorry if we've already said this. Again, what's great about a lot of, especially on the Disney aspect of Explore Orlando, and I know we intend to go on outside of the theme parks here on the pod eventually, but in regards to Disney, your expertise is really, really strong, right? Like Universal, I seldom learn something new because I kind of grew up there more. But I guess what I'm getting at is, forgive me if you've already told me, but what is actually being replaced there? Do we not know yet? Do we know? What is to come?
Yeah, no. So essentially, DinoLand is getting replaced by Tropical Americas. That's going to be the name of the land. And within this Tropical Americas land, we are getting themed attractions based off of Encanto, the Disney animated film, and then also Indiana Jones.
Oh, nice.
So that's essentially the two major properties that's going to be taking up this entire space. There's going to be a new carousel that gets put back there, which is pretty cool. So that's something for kids and families of all ages to be able to enjoy.
Yeah.
But beyond that, Dinosaur, which is a pretty iconic attraction at this point now at Animal Kingdom. People are huge fans of that. If you didn't know, actually has the exact same track as the Indiana Jones ride in Disneyland.
Okay. I didn't know that, but I do remember you telling me that the actual track will remain the same. It's just going to go under renovation here in Orlando.
Exactly. So the actual attraction of Dinosaur, the track itself is going to remain the same. It will just get rethemed and revamped into an Indiana Jones attraction. And what's cool about this is the Indiana Jones attraction that's actually taking its place is going to be unique and not the same attraction that's out in Disneyland.
Interesting. Okay, so I've got a question for you. Is that maybe, because you would say Indiana Jones is an IP, right? It's intellectual property.
Yep.
Is that the first IP that's gone into different parks? If you think about it, because I know that they have the Indiana Jones, right, at Hollywood Studios, the show.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's tough to say. I mean, I think that I don't think it's the first, because we are getting like, I don't know. You got me on my toes here.
Yeah, I didn't mean to, I didn't mean to put us on the spot here, but it just kind of hit me. I'm like, that's probably the first, where normally they put it in one park in one area, and that's like the showcase of that. So it's just kind of cool to think about that when you said it.
The only things that really come to mind for me is like there's the Little Mermaid show in Hollywood Studios, and then there's a Little Mermaid ride in Magic Kingdom. There's a Buzz Lightyear attraction in Magic Kingdom, and then there's a Toy Story Land in Hollywood Studios.
True.
So there are a few examples of it, but you're right. It's definitely not overly common. But regardless, I'm just happy to see Indiana Jones get some love, because Indiana Jones, when Disney acquired Lucasfilm in 2012, of course, everybody's first thought was like Star Wars.
Right,
We're going to get Star Wars films. We're going to get Star Wars, movies, shows, lands at the theme parks, all these things. But Lucasfilm also owned Indiana Jones. And so obviously we got the new film this past year. And And beyond that, I always thought like, oh, there's so much potential for this property in a theme park. And I love the Indiana Jones ride out in Disneyland. So I think there's a ton of potential for what they can do with this whole thing.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of cool about what I like about Tropical Americas, and something I think you'll appreciate, especially having a little one yourself, is that it's actually going to be appealing to like 2 different age groups. Like Indiana Jones does appeal to an older age group.
Sure.
Right. And then you got Encanto is obviously going to be more geared towards kids. And there's also a carousel over there. You're going to have character meet and greets. I just think that's great. I like lands that serve like multiple different demographics.
Yeah. No, I hear you. No, that is pretty cool. I was going to ask you too. Excuse me. Got a slight cough. Similar to probably most people in the U.S. right now.
January.
I know. No kidding. But no, I was going to say, just you mentioning Lucasfilms, not to throw us off track here, but what other IP, because I did not know that was part, Indiana Jones was part of Lucasfilm. Is there any other ones? Because I do think of Star Wars. Is there any other ones that fall under that umbrella, or is it really Star Wars and Indiana Jones that came with that acquisition?
Yeah, so good question. There was Willow. That was a whole another property. They made a Willow TV show on Disney Plus that they've already deleted entirely from the platform. So clearly they're not going to be doing too much with that. But no, the focus is definitely on Indiana Jones and Star Wars. But I will say that there's been a new Indiana Jones video game that just got released that has been extremely popular and people love it. So I think they are leaning more into the Indiana Jones IP. And I do think it's kind of cool that they are bringing that character to life in the theme parks, because I have an appreciation for theme parks that still celebrate properties that maybe came out a long time ago.
Yeah.
Like, I think one of the bigger mistakes Universal Studios, for example, has made is kind of phasing away some of their classic properties, like Ghostbusters and Jaws and Back to the Future, Twister, these older films that, like, they're like, oh, we got to replace it with something new. Not necessarily. There's certain properties that are timeless, in my opinion. And
I agree.
So I like that Disney is saying, hey, this older 80s franchise, Indiana Jones, that really hasn't been truly relevant in a long time. There's been a few new movies, but they haven't performed all that great at the box office.
Yeah.
But they still recognize there's a lot of fans, there's a lot of people who love this stuff, and it's from a previous generation, but that's okay.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're onto something there too, which is, it'll be interesting to see if they, the next decade or two, there is that kind of reverse, almost like a record or something where it was outdated. Now people collect records, myself included. Yep. But I do agree with you, because all of those different movies, IPs are really timeless.
Yeah.
Jaws is a shark, right? Like it's not dedicated to a time period, although the movie was made in a certain time. Same with Back to the Future. You can still go into the philosophy of time travel is still fun and entertaining.
For sure.
And even I think another one was Terminator. It's born now, but Terminator and AI is more prevalent now than a lot of than it probably ever has been.
Yep.
And less futuristic and more almost current. So no, I hear you, and that is really cool. I would tilt our hat to Disney for doing that. Really, again, Indiana Jones, it's really timeless. These are all timeless.
They're classics. And I think with iconic films, iconic properties, theme parks can just keep those around forever. They don't have to replace them with new IP all the time. If it's relevant, if it fits, great.
Yeah.
But it doesn't always have to be the case. For example, 50 years from now, if Universal Studios is still around, I can almost guarantee you there will still be Jurassic Park and there will still be Harry Potter stuff there.
Right.
Because in 50 years, people are still going to be like, oh, yeah, it's Jurassic Park. It's iconic.
For sure.
It's like Michael Jordan 100 years from now are still going to be famous and known throughout the basketball universe because he's that iconic. I think when it comes to theme parks, you can really take the same approach with certain properties. And I do hope that Universal kind of course corrects us a little bit with that stuff in the future. And we might have an opportunity for that with Rip Ride Rocket closing here in September of this year. There's a lot of rumors on what that is going to get rethemed into. That's a great opportunity for them to say, hey, let's retheme that coaster into Ghostbusters or into Back to the Future or, whatever older property they want to. They can actually do that. And I bet you fans would be happy about it, honestly.
I totally agree. Yeah, that is going to be interesting with Rip Ride. I think that's a good segue there, too. Wow. Can't believe that ride is... I mean, I can believe it, but I shouldn't say one of the few. I think there's a good majority of people that do enjoy it, but there is a vast majority, too, that just think that it's... a bumpy ride, to say the least.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
And slowly they had been taking the music tracks off, so you almost got to feel what was to come. But I am, again, one of those people. I really enjoy that ride. In terms of like a thrill ride, I don't know how much more thrilling you can get. Obviously, you got Velocicoaster, Hagrid's now, got a bunch of really fun rides. But there is something about going straight up and like you get to the top like that. That is a real adrenaline rush. So I hope they replace it with something at that caliber.
For sure. And I think, obviously I know this episode is mostly dedicated to Animal Kingdom, but that is like Rip Ride Rocket was something I had been wanting to talk about anyways. And I do think this is a part of a bigger conversation that we'll probably save for like a longer and future episode.
Yeah.
When it comes to Universal revamping their two main parks right now, Universal Orlando, because I think there's a lot of potential for Universal Studios as well as Islands of Adventure to actually completely give their two main parks right now, not Epic Universe, a ton of love and retheme certain lands and revamp certain rides. But I think they've just paused everything because of Epic Universe.
Yes.
They're just like, hold on. We can retheme Lost Continent. We can retheme Seuss Landing if we want. We can retheme Simpsons Land if we want. We can retheme Rip Ride Rocket. We can do all this, but let's just open up this theme park first.
100%. And you would imagine, I'm sure that is the strategic moves happening behind the scenes, and it makes total sense. Because once Epic is open, you have a lot of crowd going there. Hopefully, the wait times will die down at those two parks and give them the accessibility to revamp on those different things without, upsetting people or if there's construction. They're like, man, we made this trip all the way here and half the park is like under construction.
It's true.
But if they open this massive theme park that's the size of all the three parks that they have there combined right now, then I think people are going to be able to swallow that pill a little bit more.
Yeah, these things are strategic, right? I mean, you don't work on multiple projects at the same time. You open up a new project in this park, and then you work on this park.
Yeah.
You don't do it all at the same time, and then all of a sudden everybody's going to 4 parks, and all of them are half parks or whatever. That's going to anger people. But going back to Animal Kingdom for a second, one thing I did want to mention is I do like that the Tropical America's Land is going to be like perfectly on theme for Animal Kingdom. Because I think that if there's one thing that both Disney and Universal has kind of lost throughout the years is parks that maintain their original identity, their original theme.
Yes.
Because frankly, and Animal Kingdom might be the last Disney park that will fully be the most perfectly well-themed, staying true to its original core out of any of the Walt Disney World theme parks. Magic Kingdom, I get like different IPs and it's still just a magical place. Like that's, I guess, its theme.
Yeah.
But Hollywood Studios, I love that park, but it's kind of lost its theme. It's lost its way a little bit. It was a park that celebrated the making of movies and the behind the scenes of movies. And now it's like half of that, and then half of it is just like Star Wars and Toy Story and woo.
Yeah.
So it's that identity's kind of gotten lost in the shuffle. Epcot, that identity's definitely changed a lot over the years.
Yeah.
But Animal Kingdom, they have Asia, an entire land that celebrates that continent and that part of the world. They have Africa, another land dedicated to that continent, that part of the world. Now we're getting Tropical Americas, another area that can celebrate that part of the world. And yes, it is going to be IP focused. It's going to have Encanto and it's going to have Indiana Jones. But I do think it's great that we're going to be celebrating a new region of the planet, because Animal Kingdom really is about celebrating wildlife and celebrating the planet as a whole.
Yeah.
All sorts of regions. And I hope that in the Tropical Americas section, we get a bunch of new food and dining locations and drink locations that celebrate that part of the world. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, that would be badass. No, and part of my language there. No, we try to keep this PG as much as possible.
We try our best.
But no, I totally agree. I love that idea. I love that keeping it in the same general theme. And naturally, when you say that, I will say, even with the integration of Avatar, I thought that was very tasteful. In a way, it very much does fit Animal Kingdom, and still that same philosophy of like a world, although it's a different type of world, but still like a native world or native region, I guess you could say. So I don't know. It very much fits into Animal Kingdom, which is pretty cool at the same time.
For sure. I mean, that entire land is talking about conservation and saving Pandora and keeping its natural beauty. And it's absolutely right on theme. But one of the things that they haven't announced yet with Tropical Americas, and these are the things that big theme park fans, but also adults like you and I care about. Yeah. And maybe not the kids. Yeah. Is dining and drinking locations.
Of course.
Because the kids aren't being like, I don't care what restaurant I eat at. They want chicken tenders and they want to go on the next ride.
Exactly.
But for me, since we go to theme parks with our wives and our friends and grab a beer and walk around and go at our own pace, I'm definitely excited to see what they bring over there. Because right now there's like, I think 2 or 3 different, it's really only one. There's Restaurantosaurus in DinoLand, and then there's a few little like stands. There's an ice cream stand. There's, a few other snack stands. Like, I want to see what kind of food and drinks and maybe even a bar. Who knows? That would be cool. I love a themed bar that they bring over into Tropical Americas, because I think there's a lot of potential there. And frankly, I've noticed a trend with both Disney and Universal lately. Every time they open up dining locations, they keep raising the bar, and I think that's great. New dining has really been elevated. Even just the stands, like you look at Universal, they opened up that crepe stand a few years ago, and that's a huge hit. Yeah. And those crepes are amazing, and that's a huge step up from like the usual like grab a hot dog that's probably been sitting here for like a week
or whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly. The classic theme park food. I don't know. I'm excited about the kind of food and drinks we might get in that land.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I think Disney is really, I think they pushed the needle forward in that regard. Yeah. I mean, there's so many Disney foodie channels out there that are just focused on that, because there is so much to offer. And I do think that, to your point, Universal very much is doing the same thing, where it wasn't that long ago, to your point, that it was just bare minimal. It was like a churro, hot dog, or a turkey leg is pretty much what you're getting there. Maybe a bag of chips.
Well, it's carnival food, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what really started as the first theme parks were carnivals. Yep. And carnival food was, fried dough and a hot dog and a burger and chicken tenders, and that's it, And now theme park food has been elevated to this whole nother level where, like you were saying, like Disney really raised the game, and now Universal has started to catch on to that. And I think they're delivering better and better food. And I do think Epic Universe is going to bring us some next level dining out of Universal, whether that's just the quick service food and drinks or whether it's the actual sit downs. I'm really curious to see how, all that comes out. I can't really even narrow down which one thing I'm most excited for, but I'm certainly excited about all the food and drinks at Epic Universe, and seeing if they raise the bar so high that people are like, okay, well, what the heck, Universal Studios and Islands really needs better food now, right? Because this is like otherworldly.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm excited for it too, and we're not that far off from there. Again, I know our main theme here is Animal Kingdom. But we can't help ourselves but be excited about that of Epic Universe. We're not that far out.
We're really not.
5 or 6 months now. And,
yeah, absolutely. Just about 5 months, and Epic Universe will be opening here in Orlando, and there's going to be so much to talk about, so much to think about, so many podcast episodes and topics and videos that we'll release on our social media, on YouTube and everything. So if you're new here, definitely great opportunity for me to sort of remind you to definitely continue to follow along with the Explore Orlando team. We are small and new right now, but everybody starts somewhere, and we're really working hard to be a really great resource for people to help plan their vacations to Orlando and also get to know the Orlando area better, tips and tricks about attacking these theme parks, and we'll definitely have lots of Epic Universe content, but also Disney news, just like the stuff we were talking about today with Tropical Americas. Don't worry, there's going to be more podcasts about Tropical Americas too. However, when Epic Universe is only a few months away, of course, that's going to be more of a focus than Tropical Americas, which is 2027. That's 2 years away. So we got some time to talk about that one.
Of course. And like you said, we're still small, so I wish we had time to make, 2 podcasts a week and really focus in. But when we have limited time, want to talk about, as much different things going on at once as possible. So, to your point again, we'll have plenty more time to talk about
for sure
development there. And
eventually this is going to just be so smooth and the jokes will be flowing and I'll have certain catchphrases I'm saying on every episode, and you will too. And we'll be cracking so many jokes that we'll have live streams. Who knows? But when you're on episode 4, that is true this time, by the way. You gotta narrow out those kinks. But regardless, thank you to everybody who has tuned in to any of our first few episodes of this podcast, who's watched any of our videos. Continue to follow along with Explore Orlando on all of our social media pages, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for a lot more content. We even have some vlogs and ride POVs and other videos beyond just the podcast coming out here soon. So the YouTube channel is going to become very active and with weekly content every single week. So get excited for that, and we can't wait to talk to you guys some more on the next episode of the Explore Orlando podcast.
Yeah, man. Awesome.
All right.
Thanks for tuning in.
See you next time.